Let's take our working file Ctrl Shortcuts to examine all of the Ctrl Keyboard shortcuts that exist in Microsoft Excel. There are 26 letters in the alphabet. Using the Control key plus one of those letters will activate a shortcut that will save you some time. Some of the keyboard shortcuts are better than others, some of them more easy to remember than others. But we're going to run through the 26 that are attached to the Control key. Now, the first thing is Ctrl J and Ctrl M are still currently unassigned in Microsoft Excel. The other 24 letters, however, do something. Ctrl A, for example. If you do Ctrl A, it will highlight everything. Now, by everything, for example, if I click into this little data set here, we mean the surrounding data. So if I do Ctrl A, it highlights the data. If I keep that selected and do Ctrl A again, then it highlights the whole sheet. It has a sort of two-step process. One is to select the cells around it, and then the next step is to select the whole sheet. If I click in here where my keyboard shortcuts are and do Ctrl A, it selects all the cells that are around it that would effectively form a small range. The second Ctrl A that follows on would then highlight the whole sheet. So that's Ctrl A, highlights all. A for all, very easy. Ctrl B, well, that simply applies emboldening. You can see there the B has gone bold. Now it's an on-off switch, so Ctrl B again turns it off. On and off. So it's not a double step like the Ctrl A. It's a single on or a single off. Bold. Ctrl C for copy. Now in Excel, you know when you've copied a cell or a number of cells, so let's highlight all of our numbers and do Ctrl C, because you get little marching ants around the item. So Ctrl C is copy. So I can come over here and put copy. Now notice as soon as you go ahead and do another action, the copying command is forgotten. The little ants have disappeared. So you'd need to come back and Ctrl C again. And then if I want to paste them underneath here, I can actually just press enter if I just want to paste once. And it says that down here in the status bar. Select destination and press enter. If, however, I want to paste and then paste and then paste and then paste, I need to use the paste command, and the keyboard shortcut for that is Ctrl V. So we can go paste and paste. We can paste and we can continue pasting until either you press enter as the last paste or you press escape to cancel your marching ants. So Ctrl V is actually paste. Now that's not quite as easy to remember as Ctrl C, because C is copy. However, if we do one of the others in the family, which is X, X is cut. If I take that bottom row and Ctrl X, it looks like it's copying because I get my little marching ants. If I then move down a number of rows and Ctrl V, you'll see that it's actually moved. It's cut and then Ctrl V for paste. Now the cut is a little bit more obvious with the X because X is like a pair of scissors, which sort of leaves the paste still out on the tree a little. But if you look at your keyboard, and it's a normal QWERTY keyboard, X, C and the V are all next to each other along the bottom row. So they're in the same family. X for cut, C for copy, V for paste. Let's go back up for D. Ctrl D is a clever little one because it's ditto. If you do Ctrl D, it will copy the contents of the cell above. So here I've got the word copy copied down. It's actually going to carry out a ditto. Now it only works from the cell above it. If I do it on an empty cell with nothing above it, then you get nothing. But if I do it here, I'll get 2, 3, 4, effectively copied down from the cell above. Ctrl E is very clever and really only new to this version of Excel. And this is the flash fill. Now we will see the flash fill in action later on. As a demonstration, here in the second sheet, EMPS, I've got a column here after the surname column that we'll call full name, with an example of how I want the full name to appear, Mrs. W. Parker. So what I would like to do is go down this column and go Mr. M. De Silva. Well, that's very achievable with flash fill, and our keyboard shortcut is Ctrl E. So I simply go into the cell below Mrs. W. Parker, do Ctrl E, and it flash fills the rest of the column. And they'll all be in the same pattern you'll see. Miss S. Glover, Miss S. Glover. That's flash fill. We will see it in action later on, but the keyboard shortcut to make it work is Ctrl E. Ctrl F, nice and easy. It's the letter, find. So I can search my file, let's say for the number 55, and it finds 55. Ctrl G, another nice logical one for go to. I could go anywhere in my sheet. I can go to N24. And it jumps me to N24. Ctrl H for replace. So it's a find and replace. Find the 55, that's what I last typed in the find box, and replace it with 78. I could do replace all, and all the 55s on the sheet have now been replaced with 78. There were 4 of them. Okay, thank you. Ctrl I, another logical one, italics. If I do that on that cell now, the word italics goes into italics. J is currently unassigned. Ctrl K is a hyperlink. So I can then, as we've seen previously, link to an existing file, place in this document, a new document, or an email address. Cancel and type hyperlink in there. Ctrl L creates a little table. You can see Ctrl L where I am tries to make a table out of the data there. Says, where's the data for your table? Does your table have headers? And it's highlighted the data. If I go to this particular little set of data here and do my Ctrl L, tries to create a table out of this set of data. So that's table creation. M is unassigned. N, logically N for new document. Ctrl N creates a brand new document. And close that. New doc. What you will have noticed then is that closing of that document was very quick because I used a keyboard shortcut, which is Ctrl W. Close document, or close window for W if you want to use the letters to try and remind you what they do. Ctrl O for open. Nice and logical. Open brings me to the open dialog box, so I can go searching for a file. Open doc. Ctrl P. Instead of paste getting the P, it's actually Mr. Print that got the P. Ctrl P brings up the print dialog box, which in this version of Excel is the print and print preview dialog box. Ctrl Q activates our quick analysis tool that we've already seen in action. It allows us to access quick formatting, charts, totals, tables, and sparklines. And notice there's no recommended tables and charts here because the data that we're selecting does not contain any numerical values. That's the quick analysis. Ctrl R. This is a bit like Ctrl D, which is ditto from above. Ctrl R, ditto from the left. If I do Ctrl R here, I'll actually get an R because there's an R on the left. Let's do it here. So let's just widen that column. If I do it here, I get the words quick analysis. So it's dittoing from the left as opposed to ditto from above. Ditto from left. You may want to think of it as ditto to the right, and then the R makes more sense. Ctrl S, logical, not just an Excel shortcut, works everywhere, and that's save. Ctrl T is the more common shortcut for a table, create table. And it does the same as Ctrl L in that it highlights the data that you're within and tries to create a table from that. Create table, T for table, very logical. Ctrl U, underline. If I type the word in and then do Ctrl U, you can see that it gets underlined. So the B, I, and U are nice little formatting ones. They're all accessible from the icons up here, but it's much quicker to stay on the keyboard. We did the W and the X as close document and cut, leaving us simply with Y and Z. Well, I would hope that Z you know and use. If not, it certainly ranks up highly there with Ctrl S for undo. And then Ctrl Y is redo. So these two belong together, because you can only redo things you've undone. Each click of Ctrl Z is another step backwards. It goes back 1, back 2, back 3, back 4. So it keeps going backwards until you decide to redo with Ctrl Y. So I could do Ctrl Z now and step back through all the typing that I've done in this little column. And we can come back forwards with Ctrl Y to fill it all back in again, including everything I've typed. And that's your Control and the letter of the alphabet keyboard shortcuts for Excel. 24 of them are in use. J and M are not used, but all the others do something useful that keeps your hand on the keyboard instead of getting the mouse and going searching through the ribbons and the menus.